Andy. Thanks for joining us on Rock Talk. We're happy to have you. We know a lot about your experience as a player and growing up and being in Windsor. I know you pretty personally as well too, so which is nice. So we're happy to have you on the show with all your experience. And thanks for joining us.
Sure. I'm just happy you guys asked me to join you. An opportunity to spread, give it back to basketball is always good.
There you go.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, man.
Why don't you go ahead and get things started there, Joe?
All right, let's jump right into it. What is your biggest motivator growing up in a city like Windsor?
The biggest motivator is just my family. Family had an option to play any sport we wanted as long as it was basketball, and it was just like competitive within my family, especially me and my sister as I grew up.
Yeah.
And that's just the biggest thing. Like, I had a dad who motivated me to be the best I can in the sport of basketball and the rest of my life as well.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely the biggest motivator, just trying to continue that basketball family and keep the Kenny name up there.
So with that, Tommy, like with your dad being at Windsor and being in the Hall of Fame and everything too, what is that experience like? That dynamic, I guess, for your family, and I mean that's got to be pretty emotional for him to see you wear same jersey, same number too, right?
Yeah, I changed over. I changed this year, and he said so. He didn't know I changed until our preseason game this summer when we played a D2 school.
Okay.
And I took off my warm-up and I was wearing 54. And he said, oddly enough, that some dust flew to his eyes as soon as I took off my warm-up. He was, he was shocked. He was touched, but he liked it. I mean, that's a big reason why I came here, and that's why I've always wanted to go here. Like, I knew my dad left his legacy, and I just wanted to build on it. So an opportunity to actually wear his number, carry the 54 through with the game. I took the chance as soon as coach told me we're getting new jerseys.
That's all right. That's good. That's sweet.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then this past summer too, you had an opportunity to compete with the Canadian junior national team as well too. What did you learn, I guess, from that experience? I mean, growing up in Windsor too, you were always one of the top guys in the city. You were always one of the top guys on your teams. Going to the junior, and you probably were one of the top guys on the junior national team as well too. But just being with that extra level of competitiveness, how was that, and how did you handle that, I guess, mentally as well too?
The mental side of it was something I told myself halfway through my rookie season last year, and I had to carry through with me in summer as I'm playing with like such elite level talent, is that I can play with these guys. Like, I just kept on reaffirming that with myself is, hey, like in high school, I was playing 2 years up. Like, I've always played up. Like, I know these are the guys I've played against. They're not better than me. If I play my best, I can match their best.
Sure.
So that was the biggest thing that carried me through to keep my confidence as I was going. Yeah. And then you said, what did I take away from it? Probably the biggest thing I took away from it is just how basketball is such an international game.
Yeah.
Like the way we played Senegal in a game, and there was literally a Senegal crowd in Greece who traveled to watch the team play. And I was like that's just crazy for them to come to watch a U19 team. Like, I'm sure most of them are family, parents, but still, like, and they were loud. Like, they were loud the entire game.
Yeah.
And then the energy, we played two after we played Mali first and then Senegal. So we played two African teams, and their energy, African basketball, their energy is just like crazy. Like, that's how they stay in games. There's just, if you let them go on a run, it's scary.
It's crazy. Going back to your previous point about kind of believing that you're at the level. I mean, I got to see it firsthand. I didn't know a ton about you last year when you came on with the Honey Badgers, and like Mike obviously told me a little bit about you and stuff. And to see you in practices and stuff, kind of competing with us and wanting to compete and not really backing down from everybody, I knew once you went with the junior national team, you were going to have a lot of success because I saw it in practices in Hamilton where you were a 19.
Honestly, having you there was probably huge. Like, I don't know if you remember it, but you whispered it to me a few times. Like, something that I'd try to save myself, but you said it in my ear a few times. Like, hey, like, you can play with these guys.
Yeah.
Like, just play.
It's important, man. It's important.
Well, like, play. Yeah, that was huge. Like every time you like that probably helped me a lot when I was there, especially when I came back for that second 10-day period, like the week that I came back before training camp,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
the team sort of had a groove and I was like, oh, how do I fit into this?
yeah.
That was huge having you there just to reaffirm me.
It was important. Yeah, it was important that you had the confidence coming in, and it showed because you really did well in practices. And I was like, geez, like he can play with these guys right now. And it was nice to see a young kid come in and not really back down from anybody. It was really
Yeah.
And I think that needs to be discussed too, because for those of you who don't know, the CBL was a professional league that runs in the summer. It just got launched in Canada last year, and what they were doing was having one U Sport player on each team, and it had to be a returning U Sport player, so going back to their university for the following year, and most of those players that were on these teams were fourth year players that were returning for their fifth year. And Thomas was in his after his first year, returning for his second year in university. So that just speaks volumes. But what I really want to get out of this is that what I respect and what I recognize is that you walk a great line between like being confident without showing arrogance. So you're able to come into a gym and prove that you're able to be there. And based on how you're responding to these questions already, you can see the confidence that you have. But at no point, I think a lot of athletes think, oh, okay, well, I need to be arrogant to show that I'm confident. And you are able to walk that line, and that I don't know, like tell us a bit, I guess, about how you manage that confidence without showing arrogance, because I think that's important to, especially sending that message to recruiters that, hey, I'm confident, but I'm not, for lack of better words, I'm not an asshole.
Yeah.
I think my word is just like humility. I'm okay. Like I think I just gained that from my family, where I'm the youngest of on my dad's side of 9 cousins.
Okay.
So really at any point during a family gathering, I'm at the bottom of the totem pole. Although I may walk into a gym and I could be the top dog in the gym, like I respect the guy who's at the bottom of the totem pole. Also, my mother would never let me be arrogant in any situation. She says it's like she'll let me know at home if she thinks I'm being too cocky or too arrogant. Like she'll nip it in the bud right away.
Yeah, and I guess that always helps when you have a strong supporting cast that keeps you in check.
Like we'll come out of a game, me and my dad will talk about plays, like how I did, and my mom will ask me, "Oh, like why'd you celebrate after this play?" Like, Mom, I went to the basket, I got a huge N1 for the team. Like I'm gonna celebrate after
that. That's great. And kind of moving on to the next one, we're going back to the CBL last summer. What did you enjoy most about the CBL, your CBL experience, and what kind of didn't you like? Positives and negatives about your experience last summer.
The biggest positive, and going into it's what I discussed with my coach and my dad, was just I wanted to retain as much as I could. And I was there for those 2 periods. So I was there for the first 10-day training camp, and the week I came back before my national team training camp.
Yep.
And that first 10-day, I got to play a lot, which I liked because I got to understand the pace a little bit better, how professionals move, how where they want you to be, all of that. And then the second week was probably even more important because, as I said, you guys had a bit of a groove. So during practices, I was sitting on the side, but I kind of liked it because it was just an up close look with where I want to be in 5 years. Playing pro, coming back from a contract in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably the biggest positive for me, was just watching the level of professionalism that the majority of you guys carry. I mean, especially yourself, you carried a high level of professionalism, but also the chance for guys to just joke around, off the court. Everyone was very easygoing and didn't take themselves too seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, and then I mean, selfishly, my only negative was I wish I could have played the season with you guys.
Yeah.
Coming out of that 7-day training camp, I was hoping I'd get that call, but I had the opportunity to play in the last game of the season. I got a few minutes there.
Yeah.
So, that's funny, actually. My sister just showed, she has the video of that shot I took, that 3. that went in and out.
Oh man,
It looked good.
bench was up. The bench was up. They were ready to
Looked
go.
good.
Yeah, we were ready to go. But I mean, you'll have many more opportunities at the professional level to kind of get it going. So that's good.
Tommy, bringing it back to high school and your early days. What did your recruiting? Because I remember, I mean, when you were in grade like 6, you were up to my, I don't know, shoulder maybe.
Little
And
chubby
now,
guy. Actually, I saw a video of you. You were a little chubby guy.
Like it was probably grade 8 to like 10. I was like too chubby. I hadn't hit that growth spurt yet.
Yeah.
And
So
I finally
same position you were in.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Mike, you were in the same position too, right before your
Mike
growth
was
spurt,
jacked since you got out of the.
I've always been short. I've always been a midget.
But you're saying recruiting process. I had no recruiting process. Honestly, I don't know why the University of Windsor is not paying my dad for the recruiting process, because I went to every single Windsor Lancer Wednesday game night from the age of like 5 to 15. I was there Wednesday nights, Saturday nights. Like,
Wow.
I was always there. Like, I was part of the team as soon as I got into high school. I was coming with you guys during the summer, like as much as I could. So apart from the university, I had zero recruiting until the summer of grade 11. The summer of grade 11, it was looking very good that I was going to make the Ontario team, which I did, and had the opportunity to go to Canada Games with them and win a gold medal. My travel team had just come off a Division III gold medal. And I luckily had the opportunity to go to the Bahamas and participate in the NBA's Basketball Without Borders. And then the following year, I'd already signed to go to Southwest for a prep year of basketball for my grade 12 year. So I kind of like, I guess in a word, blew up that summer and gained a lot of recognition from stateside. I'll mention my Canada recruiting in a second, which I learned about this year. But for states, that's when I really blew up for the NCAA recognizing me. I got on a few more recruiting sites. That summer, I was ranked top 10 on North Pole Hoops. I think I was ranked number 8 or something. And then the beginning of the year when I was at Southwest, I had Northeastern come to a practice, Toledo come to a practice. When we went to Rhode Island, Boston College came to watch me play. A bunch of schools had called me. David's had called me. But the school that always showed the most effort and made me feel most comfortable was always University of Windsor. Like I never wavered from that. And then the Canada side of my recruiting, which I've learned this year as we got our new coach, Chris Chang. I was with him during the summer one day. We had finished a workout. And I asked him, I said, why did you never recruit me? Like we knew each other. Like I met him that summer playing for Team Ontario. I'm like you were a OUA coach.
Yeah.
I was told I should be a pretty good player in OUA. Why did you never gave me a call? You met me. You never even tried. He said, everyone in OUA knew if you were in Canada, you were going to Windsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, so it was just known, I guess, which was funny. I never had communication from anybody else in OUA or Canada. Like I never used sports communication. Everything was either Windsor or NCAA.
That's what happens. It happens to a lot of people. Sometimes kids the recruiters are like, oh, he's going to the States or she's going to the States. So like why would I waste recruiting dollars on a player that we know we're not going to get anyway, right? So
exactly.
I mean, I would never to kind of. I mean, maybe in the time you took it as like a disrespect, but I mean,
because I knew, like I was telling my Coach Barnes when I was at Southwest, like we went to a Vaughan tournament. And I told him, I said, like if Canadian coaches like ask you, like there's not really a point in me talking to them. Like I'm just gonna tell them I'm not going. Like I told him, I said if I'm the same words Chang told me. He said everybody knew that if you're staying in Canada, you're going to Windsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess this question kind of like carries on what we're talking about here. You had obviously a ton of options, right? So I mean, south of the border, in the U Sports. Why didn't you head south and kind of take a chance and just? I mean, obviously the schools weren't as interested as Windsor was, and they weren't as high on you. did that play into your decision, or why did you not decide to pursue it?
I think I viewed NCAA as like what you just said, taking a chance
Yeah.
on like for a lot of like I was embraced with like Windsor's culture already, the university's culture already. You can't really understand a school's culture in a weekend visit.
Yeah.
Right. And like I respect like a lot of coaches who talk to me, whatever, like, but they can tell you whatever you want to hear.
Yeah.
I had been around with Windsor so long that yeah, they're still gonna tell me what I want to hear, but I see where I fit in. Like I know where like what I need to be when I get there and like how I'm gonna fit in exactly. And how I fit in at Windsor is what I wanted to be. Like if I go stateside, I'm a 6'9" guy, I'm gonna get shoved in the post.
Yep.
Yeah.
So even first year, Oliver gave me full freedom to extend my game a little bit, play from the wing a little bit, and then even this year, my elbow game, my wing game, and then obviously when I want to, I go into the post when I need to.
Yeah.
So that was just the biggest thing, just being comfortable with a culture, and I just understood everything at Windsor that I didn't want to risk it, I guess.
Yeah.
You could say. And just so many stories that I heard of bounce backs. I said, I'll go here. I want to be a FIBA basketball player anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Let's play 5 years of FIBA, be more, have that on my resume for recruiters after my 5 years.
Yep.
For European recruiters, which I was told at the time it would be huge. Like when a recruiter or an agency is, oh, he's played 5 years of FIBA basketball, like that's going to help a club pick you or want you.
Definitely. Yeah.
So
yeah, go ahead,
So
Mike.
you made a good point there that you know you can go to any school and they can tell you exactly what you want to hear, and it can all sound great, and then you show up on campus day one and it's completely different. And your time that you immerse yourself with Windsor, you were able to screen out what anybody was telling you and just view it with your own eye and to see, okay, well, I'm going to decide what this culture looks like. And yeah, you knew that. So with your decision, you already knew the culture you're going into because you already had that plan. So our next question is, how does a younger athlete prepare themselves for the recruiting process and that journey? And like you said, if you're lucky enough, you could be there close enough to the school where you could be socializing with the guides. You can see how everybody treats each other. You can see what that culture looks like. But I guess for somebody that doesn't have that opportunity, would you suggest would be the process? Like, what were you doing to try to screen and to figure out what the culture looked like for these NCAA schools that you only could go down for a weekend?
Mm-hmm. So the first point I'll make is what you said is like people are always going to try and tell you what they think you should do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm lucky enough that my family, no one told me what to do. My dad said, and my mom, like everyone said, you're making this decision. Either you're going to return for a 5th year and give it your best shot going to NCAA or go to Windsor after your grade 12 year. And I think that's really important for younger players, like throughout the recruiting process, to understand that no matter what decision you make, people aren't going to like it.
Yep.
But that decision has to be whatever's best for you. And only you are going to understand that, right? And the other suggestion I would make is never make a decision too early. If you have offers or interest from multiple schools, listen to everybody.
Yeah.
Like I was playing in Vegas, and a southern Christian school from Texas wanted to talk to my dad and me, and we listened to them.
Yep.
Knew I probably wasn't going to do anything with it, even go on a visit or talk to them ever again, but I'm going to give them the respect. Like they're interested in me. I want to listen to them, and maybe I like the sound of things. I want to listen some more. Yeah. But once you've heard everything, go into your room alone, and you have to understand what's right for you. And then lastly is after you make that decision, at some point, it's going to feel like it wasn't the right decision.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that throughout that process, like that's just like, I don't like this word, but the grind process is at some point it's going to feel like it wasn't the right decision. But you have to trust that at the time when you considered everything that you made the right decision for yourself.
Big time. And I think there's something to be said about your second point too. in terms of like all these recruiters, and I saw it at the pro level. Like when there was a team that I was talking to about going overseas, like I asked people that played on the team previously, right? It's important to do your due diligence and kind of
Yeah.
look around and say, because any coach can come to you and say, oh, you're going to get this amount of minutes, you're going to be playing this, you're going to get this,
Yeah.
and they're going to make you a bunch of promises. But at the same time, why don't you go and ask somebody that's played on the team a couple of years or played on the team last year and say, okay, did he tell you this? How did it go out? Everyone's going to have a different perspective on things, but the more people you talk to and the more information you gather is going to help you end up making the decision you want to make. And it's going to make you feel more comfortable with your decision. So I think it's important that you do your early work and you kind of do some homework almost and figure out things by yourself and kind of from others.
I mean, for athletes, it's probably one of the biggest decisions we make is during our career. Like the next step would be, well, you've had the opportunities like moving on to the pro and which contract you're going to accept, but choosing your school is probably one of the biggest decisions we make because a school can make or break your career depending on how they use you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. For sure.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, moving on. Oh, Mike, do you have anything to add? Sorry.
No, I think that's all great. I think exactly what you guys are saying. That's information that's super important for people to understand. Soak up as much information as you can, and then be confident with your decision. No, I love that. That's awesome.
All right, let's move on here. What was your training regimen in high school, and how has it changed kind of as you went through high school and university? You mentioned earlier how, I mean, you hit that growth spurt and your body changed a little bit and stuff like that. How, I mean, was it kind of just knowledge that you gained, or was it yourself? Were you internally motivated? Kind of what changed, and kind of how'd you go about that?
I've luckily always had the workout bug. Like I've always wanted to work out as hard as I like. Working out was fun for me. Like I enjoy it. So in high school, my real like athletic workout regimen started after grade 10. I got a trainer. Like I hit it. I was in the middle of a growth spurt. I knew if I don't have a trainer, I'm going to come out of this growth spurt with bad knees and unathletic. So I was training throughout my entire growth spurt to stay fit, stay athletic, keep my growing ligaments as limber as they could be. And then luckily, as I said before, like I was in a basketball family. So my day was wake up in the morning, work out with my trainer, go to school. And then the family was going to shoot after I come home, homework, dinner. The family was going to shoot after dinner. Me, my sister, my dad, we're going to shoot. Like that's what it was growing up. And then once my sister got into college, she would have to go to practice. But then it was me and my dad were going to shoot in high school. Every day we're going to shoot after dinner or whatever it is. So I was lucky enough to have those opportunities. And that was the biggest thing that just carried me through until now, is that since I love like shooting, working out, whatever it is, that even after a long practice, like I enjoy staying and getting working on my own. For me, especially working on my jump shot, trying to bring it up a little bit.
Yeah.
But
well, that's great. I think that leads into the next question too, is that what kind of sets you apart? Because I mean, you say you have the workout bug. That a lot of people have that. A lot of people that at a high level like yourself, most of them are like what they're doing because you wouldn't be that good if you didn't enjoy the process. Right? But what do you think that you do, both whether it's athletically or maybe academically, which helps in your preparation? What do you do, Thomas Kennedy, that sets you apart from other athletes?
I think the word I can use to set me apart is just consistency. Like you said, a lot of people enjoy working out, enjoy doing this, but they may not be consistent with what they're doing. The process of like developing a skill, like what they say, like the 10,000 hours things, like you're not going to become a better shooter from one workout.
Nope.
A lot of people might get in for 2 hours, like at this level, and work on that shot, and then think the next day, oh, I'm a better shooter. Like it's a consistent process that has to happen, and it just has to keep on going for a long time. It's hard.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of people enjoy like that grind, but it's difficult, and just staying consistent is what I'm able to do, I guess. I enjoy the consistency, even though if it's mind numbing.
Yeah, it's there's like last summer, as soon as you came in the summer, I kind of noticed it. I was like, wow, like sometimes you don't see a lot of players, like young players, understand what the consistent aspect of it means. Like they're like, okay, let's go work out at 12:30 at night or one in the morning. They're like, yeah, I'm getting this work in. But like, you got to be smart about it, and you got to stay consistent, right? And I noticed that about you, kind of, as Mike was with us as a skill development, and you were always wanting to come in and get better. And sometimes we're not even seeing that from pros. And I was like, okay, he's in first year university, and he already understands kind of how this goes. This is going to set him, if he can continue at this level and the consistency that he has now, that's going to just set him up for when he wants to be a pro in 5 years, right? So it's good to see that you set, and it's important to set these habits up in high school even. And I'm sure you had those, like you were saying, I'm sure you had those habits in high school, which carried into university, and it's going to carry into your pro career too. So it's important to start as a young kid and grow up with those type of habits. So that's great.
So, and then Mike was saying, like, maybe what sets apart from, like, in my workout. It's something that you guys have both seen. Just working out at game speed, I think is the biggest thing. Like, through the consistency and through the workouts I've gained from one of my main trainer for 14 years, all was huge for me. Like, a lot of kids don't have the opportunity to train like that. Like, where it's challenging your mind as much as it's challenging your body and your skills. And that's what took me to the next level. I even told Oliver one day, actually, during my rookie year, I said, I just did this. Like, I referenced one of the drills. I said, I was like, yesterday, I was talking the day after a game. I said, I didn't realize it until, like, after the game, when I was going through film, reviewing it or going through it in my own head. I was like, the skill I use is something we've been doing for 7 years. And training like 7 spots just isn't as effective as training at game speed and game situations for an hour.
It's so true. I mean, even like, while we were doing a lot of the training under Oliver together, right? And the confidence that I had from training. So it probably took 2.5 years where we were throwing these passes here, around the back. We were doing all this kind of crazy stuff that you don't see. But then, we kept practicing it because he continued to encourage it.
But then you watch the Mike Rocca senior mixtape and you see this pass, like the behind the back. It's like it becomes part of you.
Well, that's the thing, right? It's like, okay, well, I'm comfortable doing this, and it's saving time, and it's forcing the defense to close out from a longer position now, which is now giving my teammates a much better opportunity to be in a scoring position. Why not? Like, and so it's that, and I want to come back to what you said too, with what you're doing in terms of consistency. Your consistency is something that we're encouraging like crazy right now, because we're speaking to our online members who sign up for our online academy. And in our initial call, we're saying, hey, this is not something you sign up for and you come on and use the platform once a week. This is something that you're using consistently, or else don't use it. Like, we don't want your money if you are not going to use this to provide value. And using it once a week is not value. So that's great insight, and I think that's very important.
Definitely.
Like, you can, if you want to use a reference, like developing skill is like you can eat good for 3 days a week, but then if you have a giant cheat meal on that Friday, your 3 days are pointless. Right? Like, if you work out hard for a whole week and take another week off, you're going to lose stuff you developed with that week.
Exactly.
If it's as simple as cardio, like, you're going to lose your cardio level from that week. Just from taking simple time off. Consistency is just.
Absolutely.
Are you cutting in and out a bit, Joe?
A little bit. I think it's okay now.
Tommy, how about you? Do you hear us okay?
Pretty good. Yeah, I've been good.
You good? Okay.
All right.
Oh, this has been great.
I can. We'll
got it, Joe?
Yeah. All right. So moving on. I mean, you've had a ton of positive things happen in your career, but obviously, like Mike and I, everyone goes through stuff. Everyone has negative times, difficult times in their career. Talk to us about the most difficult part of your career thus far. How did you handle it, and kind of how did it make you a better player?
Frustrating or my most difficult part of my career so far was when I was cut from the U18 national. So 2 years ago, 2018, I was at training camp. I made it through the first opening round, and I was the last cut before the 20-person training camp. And that kind of like that hurt because the year before I played for Team Ontario. It was almost like this is just the next step. Like that's what I planned. It was Team Ontario, Team Canada for 2 years. Like that was the next step. And then for just to not make it, like it hurt a lot. Like I was mad, but my dad said something to me, and it kind of like it restarted the engine for me. He said, like, why do you want to be on a team that's staying in St. Catharines? So that summer, the U18 team was competing in St. Catharines, and he said, let them qualify for you. It's going to be much better when you go to Greece next year. That's what he said. He said, let's just get ready. Let's make the U19 next year, and it'll be all worth it because instead of going to St. Catharines, you're going to compete at the actual World Cup in Greece.
Amazing.
And that just – but when it was time to restart the engine, that's what he hit me with. And it definitely worked for me. Just like refocus and get on going, and then just reset a new goal, right? Because like goal setting is very important, but when you don't reach a goal, you can't let it affect everything else.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. That's a great piece of advice. So we like to ask kind of question everybody that comes on the show. It's important for young players to kind of hear some insight, especially from a player like you. What would be the greatest piece of advice you have for a young athlete coming up today?
I think about that one again. For a young athlete, I think the best advice I could give is what I talked about before is just enjoying it. We're doing workouts right now online with our team, and our trainer, he said to us, he said, I hate the word grind because if you truly love it, it's not a grind.
Yeah.
Like you enjoy the process.
Yep.
And like that happened a week ago, and I've been using it ever since. Like I'm trying not to use the word as much as I can, and I think that's just like very important for guys. Is like a lot of people are going to refer to it as a grind, but that's just your lifestyle. That's like what you enjoy. It's what you want to be embraced in for. Just that's what you're doing.
Big time. I mean, yeah, it's so important to. It's if you're gonna play the sport of basketball, you gotta love it. Like you wouldn't go and play. I wouldn't go and play hockey if I don't love it, right? Like you got to be fully invested, and if you're fully invested in the sport, you can go a long way with it, and it's important to young kids kind of understand that.
Yeah, you're fully invested. When you're fully invested, what other people do, what other people are doing, is not going to affect. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And then even just like your consistency too. I mean, I know Joe mentioned it already, but like with the Honey Badgers this summer, with the little bit of crossover we had at Windsor, there was never a time where I sent you a text saying, hey, I'm training Joe and this player tomorrow morning. Are you in? Yeah, I'm there. Yeah. What time? Right. So like it's that always being ready to work on your game. I think that there's parts of you as well too that hates the fact that other people are going to get better if you aren't able to join them and become better with them, right? So if you knew that we were working out, like me and Joe were working out, well, you're there because you didn't want to give up that day and lose that day. And I think that's super important, that you have that constant reminder that you're never satisfied and you're going to continue to work hard day in and day out.
Yeah, and it's important. And it's important that, like, even if you're not getting minutes on your team, what's stopping you from going to the gym and getting better? because you might not be getting minutes now, but when your number's called and you haven't been in the gym getting better, then what? You're gonna go on the floor and you're gonna look foolish because you haven't been getting ready. And that's something that a lot of great players that I've played with and played against, I know they had it in their heads. Like they were in the gym, they were getting better, and if their number was called or when it was called, whenever that is, they were just ready to go, and they are confident enough to know that I'm ready to go because I put in all this work. And that's something that you have in you, and I know you're not going to lose it. And that's something that I've seen, and Mike had it in him, and I had it in myself. And it's important to kind of get to the level you want to get to. So,
especially you said with someone who might not be getting a lot of those minutes, like
exactly.
Embracing that part of the role is like really important. We've been on team Zooms with a few like all-time great players, and one of us told a story of his second team high school team. He was on the first team, and they were undefeated. And the second team embraced such a role that they said, well, we're the second best team in the country because we beat you every day in practice.
Yeah.
Right? Like they want to work just as hard to make sure when it's their turn to play, like they're not going to be, I guess a word to use is embarrassed. Like,
yeah,
like I would use.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Tommy, this has been great. A lot of good insight for a lot of people. And I know there will be a lot of viewers that will enjoy this conversation, especially with the fact that you're still, in university, playing for Team Canada, one of the top guys in Canada. So we can't thank you enough for joining us and sharing your experiences that you've had with all of our viewers. So yeah, Joe and I are super grateful that you're able to come on and share with us.
Good job, Tommy.
Well, I appreciate what you guys done for me, and just thanking me to be a part of the Rock Talk.
Of course.
Love it. got a nice ring to it, eh?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, buddy.
Tommy,
Go ahead, Joe.
No, I just want to thank Tommy. Keep working hard, and we'll obviously be in touch pretty soon.
Okay.
Hey, tell everybody.
Sounds good. You guys.